With the first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Jared Goff.
Welcome to American Baller, where we focus on all things NFL. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos. Jared Goff has had a roller coaster of a career since entering the league as the first overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft. Today, we're set to break down some of the key moments of his career, culminating in what has been an elite 2024 season to highlight the scary truth about Jared Goff that no one is noticing. Goff's slow start with the Los Angeles Rams. Despite being the first overall pick in the 2016 draft, Jared Goff's time in the NFL got off to a bit of a shaky start. In his rookie season, the Los Angeles Rams took their time to let him become acclimated to the league before giving him the keys to the franchise as the team's starting quarterback. He finally got the starting nod in Week 11 of the 2016 season. While his debut was a bit shaky, completing only 55% of his passes and failing to find the end zone, he turned up the heat in his next start. In this matchup against the New Orleans Saints, he put on display the potential that the Rams front office saw in him when they took him with the top pick. He diced the Saints secondary for 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Despite this strong showing from the rookie, the Rams were taken down in embarrassing fashion, losing 49-21. This trend of Goff failing to lead the team to success this season continued, and at the end of the year he had thrown for 1,089 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 picks, failing to win a single game in his 7 starts. After an extremely rough rookie season, many were already looking at Goff as a bust. Despite this, the Rams coaching staff made the decision to stick with their young quarterback, and he was named as the team's Week 1 starter. This wound up being an incredible decision as Goff had a huge bounce-back year in 2017. It appeared as if he was a completely different player, throwing for 3,804 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Not only this, but he was also named to the Pro Bowl and took home the league's Most Improved Player award. To put the cherry on top, Goff also led the Rams to an 11-4 record in his 15 starts, earning them a spot in the playoffs. In his postseason debut, he was held in check, throwing for 259 yards and a touchdown in a 26-13 loss. Things turning around with a Super Bowl appearance. But this taste of the playoffs was all that Goff and the Rams needed. In the 2018 season, they were back with a vengeance. He earned his second straight trip to the Pro Bowl on the back of an elite 4,688-yard and 32-touchdown season. This still stands as a career high for Goff in single-season passing yards and passing touchdowns. Los Angeles made a return to the postseason, taking down the Dallas Cowboys 30-22 and the New Orleans Saints 26-23 to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. And the big game, they were tasked with taking on the New England Patriots and the peak of their dynasty. This young Rams core was in a bit over their heads, and the offense was not able to get much going. Goff was held to only 229 yards and a pick through the air in what was a defensive struggle on both sides, ending in a 13-3 loss for the Rams. Despite this tough showing in the Super Bowl from Goff and the season ending on a sour note, this was still overall a breakout season for him. Everything going south after a Super Bowl appearance. Heading into the 2019 season, the Rams were looked at as a roster with the potential to dominate the NFC for years to come with Goff at the helm. But something changed this season. Despite leading the league in passing attempts with 626, Goff failed to throw for more passing yards or touchdowns than the year prior. The Rams made the risky decision of running their entire offense through him and more or less leaving the fate of the team in his hands every week. He still posted very respectable numbers, throwing for 4,638 yards and 22 touchdowns, but he fell a bit short of the expectations that were set for him coming into the season. While he was able to lead the team to a 9-7 record, it wasn't enough as they narrowly missed the playoffs. Things went from bad to worse for Goff in 2020. While he was by no means a bad quarterback, he was not getting the job done for a team with as talented of a roster as the Rams had this season. He continued to regress statistically, throwing for 3,952 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 13 picks. Even though he had a record of 9-6 as a starter this season, Los Angeles was still able to sneak into the playoffs. Shockingly, Goff came off of the bench in the Rams' wildcard matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, but after John Wolford left the game with a neck injury, Goff stepped up despite suffering a broken thumb weeks prior. He did not have a stellar showing by any means, but he was able to lead Los Angeles to a 30-20 win. In the divisional round, they were matched up against a very talented Green Bay Packers team. The Rams could not keep up with the Packers' offense and fell by a final score of 32-18, being shipped off to Detroit. Even though he played through a thumb injury and was still able to lead his team to the divisional round, the Rams had seen enough and were ready to move on from their former first overall pick. They made a blockbuster deal with the Detroit Lions that sent Goff, a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 first-round pick, and a 2021 third-round pick to the Lions for Matthew Stafford. While Los Angeles was able to bring home a Super Bowl trophy with Stafford at the helm, the Lions were able to expedite their rebuild, turning these picks into Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Broderick Martin, Jameson Williams, Josh Pascal, and Ifeatu Melifonwu, completely turning around the franchise. Goff came into a horrendous situation with the Lions. They were coming off of a 5-11 season, and it was clear that it was going to take some time before they were anywhere near even sniffing the playoffs. Along with Goff, the Lions also brought in a new head coach in Dan Campbell. With this much change occurring in a single offseason, Detroit's 2021 campaign was doomed from the beginning. They went on to be one of the worst teams in the league, and even with a solid season from Goff in which he threw for 3,245 yards, 19 touchdowns and 8 picks in 14 games, it was not enough to make the team even close to competitive. Come season end, Goff had a record of 3-10-1 as a starter. But Goff and the Lions would go on to shock the NFL world in the 2022 season. Heading into the year, it was expected that they would once again be one of the biggest laughingstocks in the league. But they had other plans. Being able to start in all 17 games gave Goff the opportunity that he needed to have a major bounce-back season. He had returned to form, throwing for 4,438 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 picks. This earned him a return to the Pro Bowl. To put the cherry on top, in only his second year with the team, he was able to lead them to a 9-8 record. Even with a winning record, though, they narrowly missed the postseason. Being snubbed from a playoff spot gave them the motivation to come back even better in 2023. Goff continued to see his numbers jump, throwing for over 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns for the first time since the 2018 season in which he led the Rams to the Super Bowl. Detroit left nothing up to chance this season and made the postseason with a 12-5 record. In the wildcard round, Goff faced off against his former team, and Stafford made a return to Detroit in one of the most highly anticipated first-round matchups of the playoffs. This game lived up to the hype, with Detroit narrowly escaping with a 24-23 win. Goff had a very solid showing, throwing for 277 yards and a touchdown while throwing only 5 incompletions. In the divisional round, they matched up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was another game that came down to the wire, with the score being knotted up at 17-all heading into the fourth quarter. But a 9-yard touchdown from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown with 6.5 minutes left in regulation went on to seal the game for Detroit, punching their ticket to the NFC Championship with a 31-23 win. This was only the second time in franchise history that Detroit was able to make it this deep in the playoffs. In the conference championship game, they faced off against a San Francisco 49ers roster that was absolutely loaded with talent. Despite coming into the game as 7-point underdogs, Detroit was able to make this game very interesting. With 56 seconds left in regulation, Goff found Jameson Williams for a 3-yard touchdown that cut the 49ers' lead to only 3 points. However, after unsuccessfully recovering the onside kick, San Francisco was able to run out the clock and put an end to Detroit's Cinderella season. Thus far through the 2024 season, the Lions have made it abundantly clear that the heartbreaking loss in the NFC Championship did not kill their spirits. They currently sit with the best record in the NFC at 12-1 and are well on their way to earning a first-round bye in the playoffs. This is due in large part to their elite offense. Detroit has arguably the most balanced offensive attack in the entire league this season. While the duo of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have been able to hold things down on the ground, Goff has shown out through the air. 13 games into the season, he's thrown for 3,265 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Even with their balanced attack, Detroit still ranks 4th in passing yards and 5th in passing touchdowns. The scary truth about Jared Goff. There is a very scary truth about Jared Goff that absolutely no one is noticing. That being that he's quietly one of the best quarterbacks that the league has to offer. While it's true that Goff has one of the best supporting casts surrounding him, he's been able to put up some of the best passing stats in the league while sharing the offense with the best running back duo in the league. To put things into perspective, the Lions have run the ball 30 more times than they have passed. With the league being more pass-heavy than ever almost across the board, this is a crazy stat, not to mention what all Goff has been able to achieve in his limited attempts. This is the beauty of his game. He doesn't have to throw the ball 30 or 40 times to have a major impact on the end result, unlike many of the other top quarterbacks in the league. This is something that has held true through almost the entirety of his career. When he was able to lead the Rams to a Super Bowl in 2018, the team featured a prime Todd Gurley, a back who was absolutely dominating the league. To put into perspective just how special Goff has been this year, he currently sits 3rd in MVP odds, with Josh Allen being the only quarterback in front of him. While he has his fair share of quiet games, letting Gibbs and Montgomery wear opposing defenses down on the ground, rarely if ever does Goff make the wrong play. He lacks the ego that leads many to try to fill up the stat sheet and play hero ball. He simply lets the game come to him and is one of the coolest quarterbacks in the league under pressure. Having such a team-first player at quarterback who consistently comes up in the clutch could be exactly what the Lions need to bring home their first Super Bowl in franchise history. Thank you for tuning in to American Baller. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos.